was, and so this time, after that, I just got into I had such an experience. I had such an experience doing that. Well, it wasn't just personal, because I know that other audience members really felt the hair stand up on the back of their necks. That was in 2005 in Regina, and so I knew something shifted. So there was a big shift in the world all of a sudden, and it's like, oh, I just tapped into something, and then I just kept going in there, and so for me, I keep pursuing it. Yeah. And anyway, that language, Soto, even though it's the most that's the dialect out where I come from, it's the language around here, around the Great Lakes, the Anishinaabe people. Yeah, it's the same place. So it fits here.
Go ahead.
I have a question to you, or two questions. I'm wondering, I want to know about your idea of how important it is for you that there is something special to be understand when I look at your performance, or it's open. So what I mean, the relation. Yeah. In there, I don't want to say the word message because I don't feel it in this way, but I just want, from your point, you want that something is understand, or you, okay.
No, I don't want any. There's no need for anything in particular to be understood. I don't give messages.
It's not that.
No, I understand what you mean. Totally open to interpretation.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the other question is, what I'm interested in is person. I told you. Yeah. And when I'm looking to you, what's your idea of the performance artist? Sorry, it's because I saw you. I couldn't read it really because there was this projection, so I couldn't really see you. But when you go down, you turn around, So what you are doing? It's in a process. You're.
At which point? When I was facing the wall, or?
But that we are doing. But then it was for me very strong, and something changed. You're going down, and you're finishing whatever this.
On the floor now. I'm sitting on the floor.
Going down on the floor. So what is your work? I like it, it's not the best. I just want to know what you are working, what you are doing in this moment.
Dropping down with her arms like this.
I know. And this is the thing. I mean, things aren't always necessarily thought through, right? To the end, eh? So I don't know. But for my own experience, what am I experiencing?
Yeah. Where are you?
Where am I? I am sinking down into the ground. I think I'm just going under the ground.
Maurice, what were you going to say there?
No, I said no. It's better I don't say this. It's really better I don't. No. So I'm really not gonna say this. But maybe I am. It's interesting you asked this. I mean, it tells something about you, of course, and this. I wonder why you wonder that.
Because I'm interested how artists are working.
Yeah, well, and that is. I
thought I'm especially interested in tools.
Yeah.
I'm in approaches. So I'm really curious what is your work? What are you doing? Of course, I see she's just doing that, but I think she has a special way to be in this situation, and just I want to share about that. That's all.
It's a good question, but I think it's very hard to answer. Like if you would ask me that, I haven't showed anything yet, so it's not so. But it makes one think, of course. But I think indeed there are so different attitudes. I mean, these three here and the three yesterday and so forth, and which I think makes it such a rich medium, is that correct? No, medium? Discipline, yeah. Yeah, which I think is really good, and it's very interesting. And therefore, it's interesting also for me to talk with all these people and say how they look in this and how they work, you know. And for me, it's really difficult to be very concrete about that. Like, I'm not concrete about many things, but I like poetry and experimental film or great music, and those for me are it's a big drive to do things. Like, I will try to find my own way to hopefully make an interesting work. And I think that for you that is again very different. I mean, it's your cultural background, and it's for Brian maybe as well.
I feel there is a certain vulnerability in talking about exactly what the performer is doing, and I'm wondering why, and I'm wondering whether this vulnerability comes from the fact that knowing what we do might come just during the performance and not before. So through this contact, this kind of magical contact with the audience, or whether we think that knowing what we do is knowing what we do when we go in the unknown and dig something. So I just would like you to talk about this vulnerability around saying what was the instruction we had for ourselves, whether we knew, whether we didn't, when we figured it out.
They're facts, right? So what's the question? Exactly.
Just talk. Can you just say something about this vulnerability that there is?
Yeah.
Talking about our own experience of performance.
Yeah. No. I cannot. No, I cannot. Yeah, I can, because of course you put yourself in a very vulnerable position. And maybe some do not experience that at all, and their attitude to who they are and how they are there and what they do is probably very different. But for me, I think it is, and I balance between this like vulnerability and sensibility. I think in my work a lot, and I usually have an idea, and for that I have objects or not, less and less actually, but usually I have. And then I go out there and do it. And sometimes I have like a beginning and an ending. And what happens in between, I'm not like totally sure of. I have thought of things, but I want to be there, look at you, think of what would make sense, you know, for me, maybe also for you. That's a little bit my way of working, I think.
Yeah. You know, because I think we have different approaches, you know, very different.
Very much.
So I was very especially interested because because I could see, I didn't see your work at all. I see Brian, so I could read him.
Yeah.
You know, I could read him. Of course, not totally, but okay, I could read him, and I could see her, and it was. But of course, you can. Of course, it's a possibility to say, okay, I'm lost, and I want to be lost in this moment. I don't have a technique. I just want to come in the situation. That's it. That would be enough for me, you know.
Yeah.
I don't say you have to really work.
No.
You know. But on the other hand, I see performers how very, very precise. It's not better or worse. I just have interest in the methods, you know, in the inner motivations, how to be, how to try to touch something. That's all, you know. So if you say, okay, no, I'm not interested in this. I just want to be in calm and don't. It's very okay for me.
Yeah, go ahead, Jill.
Thanks. I like this answer that you were going into the floor. It's because I didn't know that, and it makes the piece deeper for me now too.
It's just a subjective thing, right?
Right. But it is interesting, this question of how we kind of score what we're going to do in our own minds, of how we sort of, okay, you know, sometimes it's like, well, I'm just going to go out there and see what happens. Sometimes it's like, okay, I have this orange and I know at the end it's going to be pulverized, or, you know, or maybe you have very precise, exact things. You know, it can be